Three, two, one. We're going live. Live. Three, two, one. Hello. And there we are. Good evening, everybody. And welcome to b.hive Productions Horror Hump Days. And we're back at the b.hive studios here at home. And I'm thinking about building an ark because we've got nothing but rain for the last 3-4 days, and this is what happens when you let farmers wish for weather. You get too much of it, I think. Sorry, I don't mean to blame farmers. Thanks farmers, for feeding the world. Anyhow, well, thanks for joining us. We are going to be reading, as we do every Horror Hump Day. We're reading short stories from my published works, and we'll read a book, go through chapters. At any rate, we're reading my book, Pavor Nocturnus. It's a book I published back in 2023. Hey, Jessica, thank you for joining us tonight. So, Pavor Nocturnus, how that came about was I had a handful of friends that I asked them to send me some snippets of their scariest nightmares that they can remember from their childhood. And so they sent me little snippets of that, and along came this book. I just kind of took some of the snippets of their nightmares, and I created a story out of it. So let's see here. I got to bring the book up so I can read it to you guys. But yeah, so all of these stories in here, one of the stories, the first one we read last week was one of mine, called "The Devil's Got Me." This week's story comes from a friend of mine that I used to work with, Pam, and she came up with tonight's story. She did not come up with the title, but she did come up with the idea for the story, and I'll let you guys in on that here in a bit before we start the story. I just thought I'd let some more people get in the room here. Last night's Tunes for Tuesday was a lot of fun. Bobby and I played you some of the tunes we're going to be doing for some of the upcoming gigs we've got coming up at the Orange Spectacular in Hutchinson, and also we'll be playing the Farm City Fun Fest, Winthrop's summer festival. And we'll be playing that as they wrap that festival up. So it should be a lot of fun. And hopefully we'll be practiced enough to put on a fairly decent show for you. I know our motto is playing great music badly, but hopefully it won't be too bad. I'd like it to be a decent show. So Bobby has a hard time seeing himself on video and hearing himself on video, and I think that he sounds great. I think he adds a lot to the music. I would encourage you guys to encourage him when you hear us on here playing together, just so he knows it's all in his head and it's not really how it is. So I know I appreciate having him along for the musical ride. Anyhow, so tonight's story, Pavor Nocturnus. Pavor Nocturnus is actually the Latin for night terrors, and I was going to call the book that, but then I saw that there's like 1 million books out there on Amazon that are called night terrors. So I said, okay, let me get a little fancy with it. So I came up with Pavor Nocturnus. And after I did that, I realized that there are 1 million books called Pavor Nocturnus as well. There's even a band out there called that. So There you go. But let me grab my copy here of it. So this is a book here. If you want to find it on Amazon, it's available on Amazon. Also found out it's also available on BarnesandNoble.com. So it's available at pretty much every online bookstore. You can pick it up. I always like having paper copies available of my books. If you guys want a paper copy and you want it signed, let me know, and we'll figure something out, and I'll get it to you. So, but this book was my thickest book that I wrote until I wrote the last one Thin Spots. So, yeah, but yeah, this is one of the thicker ones. If you have missed an episode of Pavor Nocturnus, I would suggest that you watch it before we get to the last chapter. The last chapter of this book kind of ties everybody together, and it'll make a lot more sense if you've read all the nightmares before that. So, just a little friendly hint for you. What else was I going to say about this? I don't remember. All right. Well, I guess if I figure it out, I'll come back to that. So, anyhow, it also feels weird to be back in the studios, but if you look, we got a pretty decent light show in the background. I like that. I like the ambiance of this room. So, last week's chapter that I read, chapter 1, was called "The Devil's Got Me." That was from a nightmare that I used to have actually on a regular basis when I was a kid. And that was basically about a kid that had something whispering to him out of his closet. And his parents had no idea what was going on because they were fighting all the time. And, yeah. And it turns out the devil did get him. So, there you go. Tonight, we're going to be dealing with the Antichrist. So, that also wasn't part of the idea that my friend Pam came up with. It was just something I added onto it. So, but I think we've got who we're going to have for now. I imagine other people will pop in, our regulars. We've got 2 regulars on right now that I can see. So, without further ado, let's jump on to Pavor Nocturnus. And let me see here. I'm going to bring it up. Hey, no. There we go. And let's go to our story. So there's quite a bit of accents in this chapter, so please bear with me as I try to wrestle around with them. So here we go. Armageddon and Syphilis. So Pam's email to me was this. This Hispanic guy had me chained up, and I had chosen one of these blue boxes, and the one that I chose gave me syphilis, and that's what I had to work with. So with that email, I came up with the following story. There were far too many shadows moving about a cell built for one. They writhed across the walls as if they had 3-dimensional shape and weight. Pamela Rothstein sat in the only square of light that hardly warmed her within the frigid dampness of her 4x6 cell. Since the beginning of Potentate Bestia de la Luz's rule, the European Union expanded to include war-torn Britannia and the crumbling United States. His capital was set up in the newly formed United Israel-Palestine, and he was slowly taking down any rogue nations that opposed him. NATO had disbanded, and the United Nations became a peacekeeping force that led the world into a new age of peace and prosperity. Famine was wiped out to only a small fledgling third world nations that were ruled ruthlessly by drug lords and sociopathic dictators. Pam and a group of resistance fighters knew better than to fall for the propaganda being spread by government-run media outlets. They had refused the mandates set forth by Delaluz's government and were successful in holding off a UN convoy from taking over a rural high school they held as a base in Minnesota. But because of sheer numbers and being outgunned, they fell. She lost many friends in that standoff. Their group was reduced from 119 to 7. She watched her comrades being ripped apart by 50 caliber rounds, cooked by the heat of flamethrowers, and gutted by bayonets. The remnants of her group were shipped off to nearby Mankato for processing. DNA was extracted, and when they were left to starve in a group cell, hoping to turn them on each other. Then they were taken singly to interrogation, where they would be offered food in exchange for information. Many had caved from her group. The re-educated were taken to other camps stationed within Old Minneapolis, where they would be brainwashed and eventually they would be given a chip inserted into their right hands as a form of allegiance to the Potentate. Then released back into society where they would be monitored 24/7, 365 days a year. The chip had all their identifiers as well as banking, health, and GPS information. Hey Shannon, how's it going, buddy? As for the diehards, like herself, they were shipped off to Canada, to the North American headquarters. There they would be tortured and subjected to painful medical examinations. They used sleep deprivation, waterboarding, starvation, and other cruel methods to try and get them to cave. For those that held out after that, they were brought here, deep within a dungeon buried beneath the Potentate capital, nestled in the city of Jerusalem. It is here that Pam and her remaining cohorts would sit agonizing days, weeks, and even months, awaiting their fate to be handed to them by Delaluz himself. Pam was spent. She had held out for 3 months in this prison. She no longer had fingernails. One of her kidneys were harvested. Her jaw had a hairline fracture, and her left eye was swollen shut. But she never let them have the satisfaction of knowing she was in excruciating pain. "Number 365-710, came a voice out of the shadows. "Get up. It's time for another session." "Fuck your session," she spat into the darkness. There was a loud clang and the rumble of metal wheels rolling across the track. Then the clatter of keys turning tumblers inside a thick iron door. There was another clang and the door creaked open, flooding her cell with a sick yellowish light. "Get up, bitch," a male silhouette barked at her, "or I'll cut the tendons in your ankles, and you'll never be able to get up again." She only sat there defiantly. The guard came in and jabbed a high-charged rod with 2 small but effective pins at the end into the surface of her flesh. There wasn't a lot there since she had first been captured months ago, but it didn't matter. Stinging volts of electricity sizzled down the rod and into her body, sending needle pain from every point all the way through her body. It was like a heavy vibration, and then turned into searing heat. She clenched her teeth, letting out a small growl, and then collapsed on her side. When she awoke, she was hanging from a metallic rack. Arms were shackled to each beam, and her ankles as well. The rack was leaning slightly forward enough to bring a little blood to just under the surface of her skin. A mouth guard with tiny needles that fastened into her gums was also strapped to her jaw. "Good afternoon, Miss Rothstein," a woman in a white lab coat said to her. Pam only glared at her. "Not feeling talkative today?" The woman chuckled to herself, and Pam only painfully grumbled back, the needles working their way into her gums with the slightest movement of her mouth. Drool mixed with blood dripped from her chin and pooled on the floor of the laboratory. "I've never understood the resistance of people like you. The fundamentalist I can see, but not your folk. You have no belief system to cling to, no conviction to stand with. Just this ridiculous independence and feeling of entitlement. Even the fundamentalist eventually became compliant after seeing the good Potentate Delaluz was doing for the world. They learned that he wasn't an enemy of Jehovah or Allah, that he was actually doing their work. He was bringing his people together, working on the common goal of helping one another. But not people like you. People who use mine and me too many times in their vocabulary. You think you're entitled to have more than everyone else, to keep what is yours. Such a shame. Such selfish attitudes that get you where? Why, right here, where you are now. You aren't singing about freedom now, are you? No. It makes me sad to see you like this, really. It really does. I don't enjoy this part of my job. I would rather be friends than be the person who's supposed to break your spirit, so to speak. But now that you've gotten to this stage, wheeled into my laboratory, time for that is gone. And my job now is to prepare you for what's to come. You're going to be a star. Worldwide networks are going to simulcast your judgment. You'll be a testament to his mercy. We will wheel you out onto the balcony that overlooks the courtyard, while millions will watch you. Then you will be offered a mercy. If you refuse the mercy, then you'll be given a choice to pick one of the 3 boxes. No one knows what the boxes contain, and each one is customized so that no one is the same. The woman grabs a remote and activates it. The rack holding Pam shakes to life, making the needles in her mouth tear around in her gums. Blood leaks from sheets from her mouth. Then the rack begins to move down a corridor and into a large freight elevator. Inside there are 6 others hung on a rack the same as her. Their mouthpieces were absent, and painful moans uttered from their mouths. "Listen to them," the woman said. "Listen to them, Miss Rothstein. Their pathetic cries have dwindled to their false hopes. This is the sound of regret, the sound of penitence." Pam's rack backs automatically into the empty space between a former combat vet and a grizzled old rabbi. The apparatus on her face begins to rattle, making the pain even worse, and then a sigh of relief uttered from her lips as the needles withdrew and the mouthpiece falls to the ground. "Enjoy this small moment together. You've all succeeded in nothing. Your salvation awaits above." The woman smiles like a predator and then disappears as the elevator door slides closed. "Where are you from, soldier?" the combat vet asks, through a similar bloody mouth.
August Bay, Minnesota, Pam says achingly. You?
Originally, Millard, Nebraska, but they picked me up in Butte, Montana. The rabbi here is from Pine City, New Jersey, and Allison, at the end, was picked up in Santa Cruz, California.
What are they going to do to us?
We'll be publicly executed, probably in the worst possible way. This Delaluz guy is a fucking psychopath.
Psychopath or not, he's got the entire world behind him.
Well, not too hard considering the social climate that got us all here. We believed he was the Moshek, the rabbi moaned. He fulfilled all the requirements, and the brethren believed that he was the one, that he would take Palestine out of the promised land and restore our temple. But then he garnered a truce with the Gentiles, and soon the world supported this false peace between our peoples. Then he rebuilt our temple only to use it as his own place of worship.
Pam remembered watching all these events on the news.
She remembers hearing governments across the globe praise the Potentate, and it wasn't long until these world leaders gave up the sovereignty of their own countries. The elevator shook and then began its ascent to the levels above. "This is it," the soldier whispered. "Time to embrace the suck." Allison began to cry.
"Don't," Pam said to her. "Don't give them the satisfaction. Keep your tears and trade 'em for rage."
"That's right," the soldier concurred. "Don't give those motherfuckers a show they expect." Allison tried to hold back her tears, and then the elevator came to a stop. There was a hiss, and the doors began to open, letting in sunlight that stung their eyes. One by one... Hey, thanks, Bobby, for the 100 stars. One by one, the racks automatically rolled their way out and onto the large patio that was the stage. Bestia, dressed in a white cotton suit below black slick hair, walked slowly back and forth down the line of prisoners. Cheers roared all around them as fellow citizens shouted for blood. His hair was an oily black that was slicked back and tied into a bun near the top of his head. His skin was tanned and perfect, with no blemishes. A grin, far too wide to be human, stretched from one high cheekbone to the other. Hey, Kevin, thanks for the stars, bro. Wow, I'm feeling the love, you guys. A 5 o'clock shadow of beard stubble, trimmed neatly, followed his jawline. "Citizens of the world," Bestia says to his audience, "today we sentence those who would seek to end the peace we enjoy on our planet. Those that would rather have chaos instead of the safety that I provide you. Those that would cut down without a second thought the soldiers who bring you this peace." His words, spoken with a Latin accent, were so smoothly and so emotionally charged that the audience cried out for more. "How long," he continued, "how long will I have to waste such precious time on quelling the violence these people bring? How long? I waste time, money, food, resources on bringing these animals to justice. When will it stop? When you lay down holding your guts in from a blade," the vet said tiredly but fiercely. "Excuse me?"
You heard me, you fuck. We won't quit until you... The potentate pulls a sword from his sheath and plunges it deep into the veteran's guts, slowly inserting it all the way to the hilt. The former soldier only grunts, and blood begins to bubble from his mouth in spurts. The crowd roars their approval. I apologize, my friends. I was a bit hasty there. Pam thought the potentate did the gut shot on purpose, because he knew her comrade would die slowly. You are an abomination, the rabbi spat at him. I am the abomination? Bestia says with a grin. Rabbi, you are the abomination. You claim to be a religious man, yet we find you conspirating with these violent and unethical resistance fighters. You and your media call it conspiring, but I was only keeping them safe, like they did for us from the Nazis. You even desecrate our temple, turning it into this filthy effigy of you. This is the home of God, not for the likes of you. Me? I'm doing God's work. I'm making the word flesh. What has your synagogue done? Preach hate and the taking of homes and land from your fellow man, separating yourselves as the chosen ones of God. Your own ignorance was your downfall. I brought the world together. You are not the Messiah, Bestia laughed. No, of course you'd say that. Of course you'd disagree with over 4 billion people. Even Time magazine honored me with the title Messiah. The potentate clicked a remote from his pocket. The rack holding the rabbi clicked and whirred so that it stood him straight up and in the air. Hands stretched out on either side, and his feet shackled together below him. He could see the looks on the crowd's faces, hateful and full of bloodlust. No, wasn't there a man, Bestia said, a carpenter, that came to your people, and he claimed to be the Son of God? He performed miracles and taught with sermons better than any other rabbi of the times. Yet, what did your people do to him? Potentate Delaluz pushed another button, and with bullet force, 2 steel rods shot through the rabbi's wrists. Ah, yes, Bestia said. I remember. And with another press of the button, another steel rod shot through the rabbi's feet. The rabbi's body was already crawling with adrenaline. He didn't feel the rods yet. It wasn't until the shackles released, his hands and ankles, and the entire weight of his body pulled on the rods, that sharp pain shot through his entire nervous system. Crucifixion, Bestia said. You people didn't even have the nerve to do it yourselves. No, you got the Italians to do it for you. The potentate pulled the sword from the dying combat veteran and then pierced the side of the rabbi. He felt it rip through the cartilage and puncture his lung. Blood gushed down onto the crowd. Some even bathed in it. How does it feel, Rabbi? Bestia asked. But the rabbi only cried out, perhaps asking the same question the character of Jesus did. Why have you forsaken me? Allison had been screeching for the past 20 minutes, and only getting louder with every death of her comrades. Potentate Delaluz savored the fear in her screams, relished the panic that was aroused by the hopelessness that emanated from her pores. Hey, Chuck. Ah, Bestia said, licking his lips. Poor Mrs. Allison Davenport. You finally cracked. I'm sorry, I meant to say, seen things my way. She nodded her head shamefully. Are you prepared to give yourself over to me? I need every word, action, breath, and thought to be in my service. No deviations. You haven't any family after my forces did away with them. So your loyalties as of late have been for the emptiness of this pathetic resistance. Do you truly give me your loyalty, Mrs. Davenport? Yes, Allison said, with her head low. Bestia pressed a button on his remote, and her shackles unlocked. She dropped to the ground in a heap, her face nearly atop the Potentate's boot. Forgive me, Mrs. Davenport, if I seem a little distrustful. You and this handful of trash have made your way up to this point in time, defying my re-education processes. So, how can I be sure that what you say is the truth? Allison paused. Yes, the world is waiting. I pledge my loyalties to you, Potentate Delaluz. Bestia chuckled. I know. My name is a little hard to pronounce with that Yankee tongue. I had to laugh at your government when they bowed down to me. I made them stay on their knees until they were able to pronounce it correctly. Speaking of tongues, how about using yours to wash the blood and dust from the toe of my boot? Allison's trembling hands held Bestia's boot heel. Pam was hoping she was going to pull it up so that the pretentious prick would fall ass over tea kettle over the railing of the patio to his death. But she didn't. She brought her face up to the blemished white leather boot and began to lick the dust and spatters of blood from it. There, Bestia said. You see, just a small gesture like this can bring you a lot of mercy from me. Stand, my dear, please. He helped her up, and she stood on wobbly legs. She was sobbing with ropes of snot hanging from her nose. Here, he handed her a handkerchief from his breast pocket. Do not cry any more. Clean yourself up. You belong to me now, and you are safe. She cleaned her face the best she could, and Bestia let her lean against him as he introduced her to the crowd. They all cheered as Allison watched with tear-stained, tired eyes. Bring the box, Bestia said to one of his aides. Two of his aides brought out a 2-foot by 2-foot box. It was blue, and it pulsed with a faded blue light. The glow of it was painful to look at. They sat it on a stand in front of Allison. As you know, Allison, Bestia said, to be a citizen of the world, you must have a chip implanted in your hand. You cannot buy anything or hold a job within our society without it. Our good doctors have already programmed a chip for you, with all your pertinent information on it. You just need to place your right hand inside this box, and it will implant the chip. Allison looked at the pulsing blue box, and then looked frightfully at Delaluz. Don't worry, he said. It is completely painless. Hesitantly, Allison slowly placed her hand near the side of the box that faced her. Bestia lightly grabbed her wrist and guided her hand into the side of the box, which wasn't solid as she had thought. It pulsed that awful light 3 times, and then Allison brought her hand out. Just under the epidermis was a microchip, developed by Veracity Technology. Once inserted under the skin, nanotech would link with your DNA, and your information was downloaded into a database housed in Austria. Painless, no? Bestia asked. Yes, she said, dazed. It's completely pain. At that moment, the chip exploded in her body. Electrical energy danced through her nervous system, making her have slight convulsions. Then an electrical fire began to ignite within her. She screamed, and then blue flames exploded from her skin. She flailed her limbs all about, which only fed the flames, and she ran extremely close to Pamela's rack. Pamela's eyes got wide. Oh, fuck, she thought. Get the fuck away from me, you weak, betraying bitch. Throughout the rebuilding of the world government, Pamela had grown callous to many horrors. She had witnessed the torture and death of many of her friends and family. She had endured her own torture. Through it all, she was able to keep her cool, but fire had always been her weakness. She had a dread of dying by fire. Here in front of her, her fears were dancing only about 6 inches from her own flesh. She could smell Allison's tissue cooking. Pam was too busy ducking the flailing pyre of a human to notice that Bestia had clicked another button on the remote, and the shackles on her wrists and ankles released her body, and she fell only centimeters away from Allison's cooking corpse. The heat singed the hair on the side of her head. She rolled quickly onto her side and noticed that the Potentate's boots had stopped her. Miss Rothstein, he said with some contempt. The hardest nut in the jar. I've heard through the grapevine that you haven't budged in your re-education process. Let's just get this over with, she spat. You're long-winded and boastful, and I put up with a lot from your crew. Killing me will be a mercy. Bestia laughed. I see that your reputation has preceded you. I like that. Please, stand up and face me. Her knees snapped as she stood up. She felt slightly lightheaded, and then she gained her bearings. She clenched both her fists a few times to get the blood circulating. Still got some fight in you, he said through a smile. Good. The citizens of the world want a good show. You get your power from worship, Pam said. I don't worship anything, especially the likes of you. If you're going to kill me, why don't you just get it over with? My dear Miss Rothstein, things are not so black and white. The cost of production for all of this is a ridiculous mockery of expense. The people want to be entertained. They want their thirst for the bloody to be quenched. And you, of course, feel you must oblige? None of this is my doing. This is all the will of the people. Mankind started out with primitive bloodlust, and thousands of years later, look where they are. Yet you claim you've brought peace to the world. I have. There are no wars. Just a small, pathetic faction of anarchists like yourself. It is you who have used violence against my peaceful keeping rule. You've reaped what you've sown, so to speak. I promise you this, you pathetic piece of shit. You can kill me any creative way you choose, but I will make sure I take you with me.
Oh my! I do not choose. Do you see the blue boxes before you?
Set between them were the same glowing blue boxes that were in front of Allison.
You will choose, Bestia smiled. You will choose whichever way you perish before the world.
A trail of fear sweat dripped from her temples, down her cheek, and followed the curve of her chin and dripped to the ground. One of those damn boxes is fire, she thought to herself. I don't know how he knows how much I fear burning to death, but he knows. I'm gonna put my hand in one of those fucking boxes, and my blood is gonna ignite, and I'll go in a pillar of fire like that weak bitch over there.
Your hesitation tells me you're frightened, Bestia inquired. Could it be that the callous Pamela Rothstein is breaking?
Why don't you kill me yourself, you fucking coward?
I told you. And I've told them out there. I am a man of peace.
Pam jammed her hand into the pulsating box. The air inside was cold like a freezer, and then several pinpricks penetrated her skin, and she pulled her hand back on instinct. Despite little rivulets of blood dripping from the needle wounds, her hand was fine. She waited for her skin to catch fire, but it didn't. There was a warm sensation that traveled through her body, but there was no combustion. A smile formed on her face as she checked over her body. It immediately left her lips when she saw the satisfaction on the smile of Potentate Bestia de la Luz. What was that? She demanded. What the fuck was that? What did you do to me? Again, Bestia said. I did nothing. You chose the box. You chose to put your hand in there. Lumps began to form on her skin that grew into boils and then popped and began weeping pus and blood. She felt a raging hot fever overcome her. What the fuck is this?
In so many words, it's, syphilis. Not your typical strain. My scientists have mutated a few genomes, and it is a fatal dose.
Syphilis?
Yes. While it is fast-acting, it will still make sure you're aware that it is killing you from the inside out.
You fucking bastard. Little chunks of flesh began to slough off of her body. She could feel a pustule form on her right eyeball. The crowd roared with excitement. It was then, despite her flesh rotting from her body, she remembered her promise. Bestia's back was turned to her for a moment, and he addressed the crowd, absorbing the adoration the world had for him. She took that moment and ran full on at him. It caught him off guard, and they both tumbled over the railing of the patio and down towards the crowd below. She bit into his neck, infecting him with whatever horror was rendering her flesh into liquid. "What have you done?" Bestia screamed at her as they plummeted 226 feet to the ground. As the skin peeled back from her face, she savored the fear in the voice of De La Luz. His veins are already blackening from the bite wound, and his skin is beginning to bubble from infection. And that, my friends, is Armageddon and Syphilis. So I hope you guys enjoyed that one.
Yeah, that was it. That one was a little different. But yeah, the next week we are going to be reading one from Stephanie's Nightmare, and that one is called Saturday Morning Fever. And yeah, you'll never look at starfish the same after this one. So, oh damn. It's always good when I can get Kevin to say, "Oh damn," that means I did good. So anyhow, Kev, did you get your basement all wet vacked out or whatever you were doing to get that cleaned up? So anyhow, some of us are dealing with flooded basements and all that, and I'm so happy that we are not. I mean, basement's a little wet, but it's not ankle deep. Jessica loved it. Great. I'm glad. Thank you. Thank you very much for saying that. Thank you guys for coming out tonight and enjoying the story with me, enjoying story time, or Sleepless Wednesday, as Kevin likes to call it. Um, Next week we'll be doing the same thing, same time, 8 o'clock, and it'll be Saturday Morning Fever is what it'll be. Captain Kangaroo even makes an appearance in next week's story. So there you go. But anyhow, thank you guys very much for coming. Thank you for all your support. Thanks for sharing my events with your friends and family. Hopefully they stay your friends and family. And thank you to Kevin and to Bobby for the stars. I appreciate that. That'll go towards my rent at the Merc. So and there's talk about maybe setting up b.hive studios there, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, there's a lot of work that's got to happen there, and yeah. So anyhow, yep, finished it this morning. Oh, good. Did you sleep at all, buddy? Shannon, good one. Hey, thanks, Shannon. Appreciate that. It's good to see you, man. Good night, Chief. Hey, good night, Chuck. Thanks for showing up, man. It was good to see. It's always good to see you, and I appreciate you bringing the ghosts and the badgers and the bee ghosts. Yeah. So anyhow, okay, guys. Thank you very much. I'm gonna call her a night. It's getting close to 9 o'clock, and I got stuff to do. I still haven't passed those tests, so I got maybe some studying to do and stuff. So anyhow, love you all. Thank you very much again. And we'll see you next week on Tunes for Tuesday. Mwah. Peace and a bottle of hair grease. And I don't know if Bobby's joining me next week or not. He's Mr. Meetings man. So there you go. All right. I'm out. Later.